SME on Point, I'm Liabo Setho. Stokvels have been a feature of South African culture since time immemorial, and now a platform called the Hook Up Money Stokvel has found a novel way to use group savings to stoke entrepreneurship. The idea is to get Stokvels to invest in buying franchises and to help create new ones in different sectors. The first one is due to be opened in December in 2020. Bathabile Moreki, who is part of the Hook Up Stokvel and Money, has sent us a video to explain how it all works and how you can take part in it.
The aim of the franchise Stokvel is to develop our township, transform the economy, and include our communities with the Stokvel franchise. It's a group of individuals and aspiring entrepreneurs coming together to raise the funds so that none of us involved will be in the position where we must now sell our house or any of the assets to start the business. With the current pandemic in our country, there's a whole lot of jobs that people are losing on a daily basis. As the Hook Up Money Stokvel, we came together to innovate and collaborate so that we can create jobs in our communities. We decided to start in the township as we are most aware that in the township there are no more formal jobs left. A lot of small businesses are closing down. The model allows not only an individual to benefit from it. We've got a whole lot of other small businesses in the township where they will also be given the opportunity to participate in the setup of the store, as most of the stores they go through construction phase, and to also supply the stores with monthly needs from raw materials that are needed to produce the end products. We are calling on members of the community from different townships in South Africa and neighboring countries such as Swaziland and Namibia to be part of our Stokvel movement, where we will be using the Stokvel model to rebuild our economy and create jobs in the townships. We are very excited as this will be the first ever franchise owned by the community members as a collective.
Thank you to Bathabile for that information. I hope you will be able to take advantage of that. Their website is thehookupdinner.com, or you can come to our Facebook page, SME on Point, on Facebook, and we'll be able to give you all the information as we get that from the Hook Up Dinner. So the highlight this week was the supplementary budget. Some commentators say that it lacked plans for the SME sector. What it did do, though, is to paint a grim picture of the economy. An example of this is that the economy is expected to contract by 7.2% in 2020. Now, this spells trouble for the SME sector that has been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. For more on this, let's chat to David Morobe of Business Partners Limited. David, thank you so much for joining us on SME on Point. One would say that the minister has missed an opportunity here to address particularly the big issues that SMEs feel. What does Business Partners Limited think?
Well, I do empathize with the minister in terms of the range of pressing needs that he has to address in the country, macro and microeconomic issues. I think for us as a nation, the pressing need is to make sure that our small businesses get supported in one way or the other. I think they're the backbone of the economy. I think they were the hardest hit by the national lockdown restrictions, and where many of them found themselves without any income whatsoever, no way of servicing or paying their employees or servicing their creditors or what is due to their creditors. So I agree that maybe we should have had a bit more from the minister in terms of this detail, but I can also understand, on the other hand, that the magnitude of the issues that he addresses probably doesn't allow for that much detail to go to the small and medium enterprises.
Yeah, let's talk about what you would have wanted to hear. You did pen an article earlier this month about what you would like the minister to touch on when he does. Which points do you think are most salient and that you think he really, under all circumstances, could have focused on that?
Well, let's take some of the positives that he raised. He pointed out that most of the mainstream financing institutions provided some way or the other payment reliefs, as well as the landlords who provided rent relief to their tenants, and most of which small and medium enterprises. I think that's a bit of a boost for a sector that has been hard hit, as well as the relaxing of the terms and conditions for the guarantee scheme that was not as accessible as it should have been. I think that for me is a step in the right direction because it will widen the net and probably allow a number of small and medium enterprises to be able to access these funds. It will be able to open lines of credit that will help them to adjust their businesses if needs be and perhaps be ready for the next phase. There could have been more that he could have said, but we realized the biggest elephant in the room at the moment is the growing national debt to GDP. And I think the minister has to address to that because if nothing is done about that, we'll have even less to provide our small and medium enterprises. We could have wanted to see more, but we acknowledge and welcome that which has been announced so far.
David, I'm glad that you touch on the rising debt to GDP, which is about 81% or thereabouts. Is quite high, and obviously it does spell trouble. But also another important number is that 7.2% contraction that I spoke about earlier on when I did the intro with you. This does spell trouble for the SME sector. What do you think that SMEs should have learned during this time? I'm thinking about a time where financial institutions did extend a hand, and many of them were not able to benefit from those loan payment holidays because they were not compliant. What can they do, or what can they do differently to make sure that should we unfortunately see ourselves in a longer term of this pandemic or another one approaches, an SME or an entrepreneur is ready and will be able to reap the benefits that come with government?
Our small and medium enterprises need to have their affairs in order. I think that's simple as that because it's the fundamentals. We need to be able to have your financial, at least the previous year, have audited financials that shows up to how far or how did your business perform. Have management accounts because if you don't control those accounts, you don't know what is happening in your business. You need to be able to reflect and say this is where we are and prove how the COVID-19 has impacted your business. If you don't have management account, that made it difficult for most financial institutions to be able to proceed with our small and medium enterprises. And the last bit is just tax compliance. If you are paying for your employees, you would provide what we call an EMP 201 to SARS, then you can prove that you are actually compliant in paying whatever is due to SARS for your employees. We found that most of our small and medium enterprises did not have their ducks in a row, and it's important going forward that we learn our lesson and say these things need to be in order if we want to interact and engage, particularly with the mainstream financial institutions, so you are able to leverage whatever help is being given to you. You mentioned the challenge of the economy. I agree with you 100%. The national restrictions, even as they are being eased at the moment, are a challenge for our small and medium enterprises because the country is essentially in a recession.
Yeah.
We don't know if it's going to take months or even years for it to recover, to get back to normalcy. So in that meantime, unless our businesses gear themselves, it will be very difficult for them to be okay.
David, thank you so much for joining us on SME On Point. We really appreciate having Business Partners Limited join us every time on SME On Point. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Right. And on a celebratory note, this month is notable because we are celebrating young entrepreneurs who are making their mark. But the month of June is also special because SME On Point has been on your screens for a whole year. So for the past 12 months, we have been featuring small businesses that are forging ahead, sometimes amid massive challenges. Luckily, many of them have reported positive growth after being featured on this show. Well, here's to another year of stories of people who are rolling up their sleeves, being creative, and being, most of all, taking chances and creating jobs in communities across the land. After the break, Nastasia Arendse comes with you with Books on Point.